Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday Rewind. Today is February the 26th, 2018, and we talk about tournaments throughout the world that happened in the past week. Starting with the PGA Tour, what an exciting finish. Justin Thomas, who is the hottest player in the world right now, he's won 7 of his last 31 tournaments over the past 2 years, and that's almost a 4-to-1 ratio, in between a 4 and a 5-to-1 ratio here. And so he came to the last hole 1 stroke behind Luke List. So if Luke birdied, Justin had to make an eagle, and unfortunately Justin hit his drive in the rough, which kind of took eagle out of play, or so we thought. And so he had to lay up on this difficult par 5. Luke had to go, he hit his drive on the fairway, had to go for the green, hit it in the left bunker, and then Justin almost holed his little pitch coming in. He had about a 90 to 100 yards, and his pitch was just short, and it just rolled past the edge of the hole, finished about 3 foot beyond, and Luke did not get it up and down from the bunker, and so they tied. And so they moved on to the playoff, and in the playoff it was opposite. Justin was the one that hit it on the fairway. Luke hit it in the rough, did not have a good lie, hacked it out and pulled it left. And it was Luke's turn to hit a great pitch right at the flag, rolled past the hole, but it rolled on about 10 feet. Justin hit an absolute corker onto the 18th green, rolled to the back, left him about a 30-footer. He putted up to about 3 foot. Luke then had a 10-footer to a possible continue in the playoff, missed it, and so Justin had a 3-foot tap-in to win again, and man, this guy is playing great golf right now. On the European Tour is a guy that I've been following for quite a few years. I've always been impressed, but he comes and he goes. His name is Eddie Pepperell, and they played in the Commercial Bank Qatar Masters. Eddie lost his card in 2016, and he's been bouncing back and forth between the Mini Tour and the Champions, not the Champions Tour, but the tour just below the European Tour. And when he was leading coming into the final round, I was really pulling for him. He looked the whole round, he looked really nervous. I really thought this guy's going to blow it, but he kept going, he kept hitting fairways, he kept hitting greens. He made a few birdies, bogeyed, I think it was the 16th hole was the first bogey of the day, and I thought, here we go. And he stood on 18 with a 1-stroke lead, hit a poor drive, kind of hit it out the heel and kind of squirted, managed to stay on the fairway, hit a poor second. He was trying to lay up with an iron, and he hit a poor second, hit it fat, and it went into the rough and left him quite a long way back. He was a good 100 yards back. Managed to hack it out of the rough and get it on the green about 25 feet. Oliver Fisher, who was his playing partner and who was the person 1 stroke behind him, did not hit the green in 2, had laid up. I thought that was a mistake. Oliver had hit a good drive, definitely could have got to the green, and I think, in that position, the players got to take a go and take a wood and hit it try and hit it on the green or get it close around the green. He decided to lay up, did not get his pitch close, 2-putted for a par, which left Eddie Pepperell 2 putts to win the tournament. He's first on the European PGA Tour. One of the players that impressed me, and I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his last name, but his name is Marcus, and you spell Kinhult. And the way the announcers were pronouncing it was always like Kinzo. He is from Sweden, and he's a guy to watch out for in the future. A lot of good players coming out of Sweden, and this guy was impressive. And it was the first time he was in that kind of situation, and he played solid golf for the whole tournament. So keep your eye on Marcus. Jessica Korda on the LPGA won the Honda LPGA Thailand Chamburi. And I said in last week's Monday Rewind, I didn't know what Chonburi was, but I was going to find out because I had a lady from Thailand in class, and Chonburi is actually the province where this tournament was being held. So that is where that name came from. But I was interested at the golf course. The golf course was called the Siam Country Club, and of course Siam is the original name of Thailand. And so that golf course, somehow the new rulers of Thailand allowed this name to stay there, which surprises me, as it was the old guard that named that golf course. So Jessica won by 4. She broke every record around, finished on -25, and won by 4 over Lexi Thompson. Thank heavens she won by 4, because once again Lexi Thompson got a 2-stroke penalty, and if she had lost by 1 or 2, it would have been heartbreaking for her. The players, it reminded me of Dustin Johnson when he lost the US Open, because he didn't read the local rules that were given to him at the start of the tournament, and he grounded his club in what he thought was just sand, and the local rules said all sand is bunker. And so he lost the tournament. He got a 2-stroke penalty for grounding his club in the sand. Lexi also did not read the list of rules that gave to her, and in some tournaments the signs that they put up around the course for the sponsors, sometimes they're movable obstructions. So if it's in your way, you can move it. But sometimes they are immovable obstructions. You're not allowed to move it, and you have to take, if it's in your way, you have to take a line of sight drop. Well, there was a sign. All signs on the golf course were immovable obstructions, and Lexi moved the sign, and later, as she was signing her scorecard, the officials came in and said, you have a 2-stroke penalty for moving the sign. So, if she'd won by 1 or 2, it would have been heartbreaking. Jessica winning by 4, at least that didn't affect the outcome in the tournament. She did tie for second, so it did cost her some money. I do a Wednesday rules and etiquette. Watch those. It's always good to know the rules, and one of the episodes that I did, I spoke about local rules. When you go and play a golf course that you've never played before, look on the back of the scorecard, because usually the local rules are there, and there's certain hazards or bunkers. Sometimes we'll have an area where there's bunkers, and sometimes they're not bunkers, and you need to know, what those are. So, pay attention to the local rules and you won't get penalized. On other news that I found very interesting, Jim Furyk added Tiger Woods and Steve Stricker to Davis Love as vice captains for the Ryder Cup. And I think the way Tiger is playing, he can only get better as he's going along now. Each round he's going to play, he's going to get better and better. Yesterday, he played a couple of loose shots. He played a shot on, I think it's the 15th hole, it's a par 3, and he missed the green to the right in the water. And I remember a commentator talking in a British Open about Rory McIlroy, and on the, I think it was the 16th hole at St Andrews, there's an out of bounds down the right hand side, and Rory hit it out of bounds. And the commentator was like, for goodness sake, the whole of Scotland is to the left. Why does he try and go down the right? Well, Tiger, the whole of PGA National was to the left. Why do you try and go the flag? He'd already hit it in the water once before in that tournament. I think it was in the second round. And he made a double bogey, and of course he made another double bogey yesterday. So 2 swings cost him 4 shots. He finished in 11th place, which is still a good showing for any golfer. It doesn't matter who you are. If you finish, close to the top 10 or in the top 10, you've played really, really well. But here was a chance. The golf course was playing tough, and there was not low scoring going on. Here was a chance for Tiger to win one, and I think he let it slip away. So I'm giving him a B+ for his effort. Next week, the PGA and European Tour combined, because it's a World Championship event in the Mexican Championship. And so most of the top players in the world will be there. So some of the players from the European Tour and the Sunshine South African Tour will get together in South Africa for the Tshwane Open. And so the European tours, some of them will be playing in Mexico, some of them in South Africa. And then the women is the HSBC World Championship. So that's what's coming up next week. I have a great smorgasbord of events over the next few days, so stay tuned.